In this class, we will continue the discussion of PMOS and we will point out the small signal model for this device, which will complete the discussion of MOS devices. And then we will point out what are the various amplifiers that can be created using, say, single NMOS. What are the different in terms of the how to give input, where to give the input, and where to take the output from. And then we will also discuss what are the important parameters of amplifiers that we will be looking for when we analyze various specific amplifier circuits. So we have already seen that NMOS for small voltage can be represented by this model. So this is after including channel length modulation also here. So if you carry out the analysis or the Taylor series expansion for the PMOS, then fortunately for PMOS also, the model turns out to be exactly same as that we have derived for the NMOS. That means here uh, you can have exactly same thing. Say, so we will not carry out this derivation. I mean detail of this, how this comes. We will simply point out that this is the case for PMOS also, and then we will qualitatively analyze the consequence of this model on the behavior of PMOS to convince ourselves that indeed for PMOS also this model will give the correct picture. So keep in mind here that for both NMOS and PMOS, the dependent current source is of course between drain and source, that is very clear, but the direction is also from drain to source all the time. That means the dependent current source produces a current which flows from drain towards the source. So now we have to convince ourselves that this direction will indeed give rise to the correct picture of the current that flows between source and drain for the PMOS. So for that, we will take one specific example and then try to see that this is indeed the case. So we know that a DC bias has to be applied, a DC voltage has to be applied at the gate so that there is a conductive channel. And then on top of that, there will be time varying small voltage, which will actually result in this dependent current. So we can see the picture of the PMOS and try to appreciate that what will happen. So there will be uh, say VG DC bias voltage, and then on this we will have our time varying source imposed in this case. So here we have source, here we have drain, P plus, and then there will be of course a voltage at the source also, a large voltage. So there will be charge distribution like this. So you see that what will happen here. So what we have here is condition like this, that we have here source voltage Vs, which is the largest voltage available in this circuit, and then we have here gate voltage, DC voltage. So I have shown all these two voltages with respect to time. These are the DC, and then we have a small time varying voltage riding on this gate voltage. So this is our Vs, right? So recall that there should be large gate to source voltage and negative. Magnitude wise, the gate to source voltage should be large and negative. Then only there will be large current from source to drain. So here keep in mind that the actual current that flows is like this. This is the direction of the actual current from the source to uh, drain. So for simplicity, drain is also grounded. Right. So now you see that when we have this time varying Vs also applied to the gate. So what happens here is that when the time varying voltage increases, the magnitude of the gap between gate and source will decrease. Of course, it will remain negative all the time. But since the magnitude decreases, that means this net current, which is now flowing in presence of time varying voltage also, should decrease as the time varying voltage increases, right? So now let us see that what prediction arises out of this model. So what we have here is a time varying voltage applied here like this at the gate, right? So now this model says that as the Vs increases, this quantity is going to increase uh, GMP into VGS, which is VGS is going to be say equal to Vs, because source is fixed at a constant DC voltage. That means there is no time varying voltage at the source. So source will be what is called AC grounded. So as the Vs increases, this dependent current source will increase, and this dependent current source flows from drain to source, right? So now there is additional current resulting because of the time varying uh, voltage imposed on the gate, and that current flows like this IB. So earlier we had only this DC current only because of GS. Now we have DC, this arising because of the VG plus the time varying voltage arising because of the VS. So here you can see that the net current that will be flowing between this source and the drain node through this device is now going to be smaller. So now we see that we get the same conclusion whether we analyze from here or with the help of this model also. So, so for the model for PMOS also, the direction of the dependent current source should be from drain to source. Now you can analyze what will be the scenario during the negative when the time dependent voltage decreases. So for this moment, you can see that now there is a more magnitude of the gate to source voltage, but of course negative. That means now the charge density inside the channel will be more, conductivity will be more. So there will be more current from source to drain, right? So this model now says that Vs is negative. Vs is negative. So there will be negative GM VGS. That means now there will be net current, time varying current flowing from source to drain. So now in this case, there will be time varying current which will be flowing uh, from source to drain. And we already have a DC current from source to drain because of the VG. So we see that during the negative or the lower part of the VS, the DC current and the time varying current, they are in the same direction from the source to drain. So there will be more source to drain current in the PMOS for the negative part. And this conclusion we have right from the this model also. So we see that this model gives the correct picture of what actually happens to the current between source and drain. So that is why this model, which is exactly same as that for the NMOS, is valid for the PMOS also. Now we can quickly go to the NMOS to see that the same model gives the correct picture for NMOS also. So keep in mind that for NMOS, this source will be grounded. Right? Source is going to be grounded, and then this VD will be connected to a large voltage VD, and then again here we will have time varying VS and uh, DC VG, right? So in this case, this plot is going to be different. So in this case, VD is going to be at the top, VG is going to be here, and VS is going to be here. In fact, at the zero level, this is VS. Source is grounded. So now you can see that the same time varying voltage VS creates more gate to source voltage for the positive half in this case. So there is now more gate to source voltage. That means there will be more drain current, net drain current, and in this case the drain current will be flowing from drain to source. So the net drain current will have two parts, one arising because of the DC VG and other arising from VS. So because of the DC, the drain current is going to be like this, and because of the AC, we see that AC model predicts that uh, time varying current during the positive half of the time varying Vs is going to be directed from drain to source. So in this case, we see that both the DC and the AC current, they are in the same direction. That means there will be net more drain current from drain to source for NMOS over the first half cycle of the Vs. So this works fine for the first half. Now during the second half, when Vs is smaller or negative, you can see that now we have a smaller gate to source voltage applied to the MOS. So now the net current from drain to source should be less, but the DC current is going to be same because VG is same, and time varying current is now negative from the source to drain. So the time varying current for the second half is going to be in this direction. So you can say that DC and the time varying current for the second half of the time varying input are in opposite direction. So there will be net low current from drain to source. And that prediction also arises if you look at the net gate to source voltage during the negative half. So this is a qualitative justification that fortunately the same model, small signal model, works very well for both NMOS and PMOS. So this way definitely simplifies our analysis. That means if we have a circuit containing both NMOS and PMOS, then we simply just need to substitute each of them by exactly same model, and analysis result is going to be okay. So this model, although I have pointed out for channel length modulation, this will work for no channel length modulation scenario also. In that case, R naught will be simply infinite. And of course, the value of R naught for PMOS and NMOS, they are going to be different. So similarly, the GM will also be going to be different because both GM and R naught, they depend upon the mobility. And in this case, mobility is mu n, but for the PMOS, mobility is mu p, and these two are different. In fact, mu p is smaller than mu1. So R naught and GM, they are going to be different for both PMOS and NMOS. So this is the only point that we will have to keep in mind when we use these two models. Now we will try to see that what are the different types of amplifiers that can be created from single NMOS. So here we see that NMOS is basically three terminal or three node device. But when we use this as a amplifier, we will have to convert it into what call two nodes if the reference is ground, otherwise pair of two nodes. So this will be used either in this way. So this one will be called as input, and this node will be called as output. So these are the single ended input and output, and their values voltages are measured with respect to ground, or sometimes they are also represented in this way. So we have input port here and output port. Now note that we are using word port. So we have a pair of nodes on the input side and a pair of nodes on the output side, and the other node need not be ground, which is the case here. So whatever may be the configuration of using the MOS as an amplifier, whether this single-ended or this as double-ended, we have to basically find out the input side and the output side for this NMOS. So question arises that which of these three can play as the role of the input nodes or input port, and which of the three can be used as the output port. So once we decide that, that will determine the total number of topologies or configurations of the amplifier that can result. So recall that the fundamental equation for NMOS is ID is equal to K into VGS minus VTH whole square, of course in saturation. And we will be always talking about the MOS in saturation when we want to use this as amplifier, because only in that case we found that the time varying current that results is proportional to the time varying voltage that we apply here, right? So this equation is what is called linear. So we always look for the linear performance or linear behavior from an amplifier. I will elaborate why this kind of relation is desirable. So here we find that when we try to segregate the nodes in terms of input and output, so that is equivalent to segregating the nodes in terms of independent variable and the dependent variable in terms of mathematics. So here we see that the input or independent quantity for an NMOS or even for PMOS also is gate to source voltage. So this is the input quantity, and this will determine the output or dependent quantity, which is the drain current. So this plays the role of X and this plays the role of Fx. Now here we see that the X, which is VGS, contains two independent nodes, gate node and the source node. Since it is the net gate to source voltage which has impact on the output quantity drain current, and the net gate to source can be changed either by changing gate or by changing source. That means these are the only two possible nodes which can be used for applying the voltage which we want to get amplified, right? So now in terms of input, for input there are only two possibilities. Either you apply your input like this at the gate, or you apply your input at the source. This can be at any fixed DC voltage, but there will be no time varying. So these are the two extreme case, and of course you can always apply between gate to source also. It's not that the external signal which needs to be amplified, they have to be applied only either at the gate or only at the source. Between gate and source can also be applied. That is also very valid. And we'll see that that happens also sometime unknowingly. So these are the only two possibilities. Now you see that what is our ultimate goal? There will be load connected here at the output side, whether in this configuration or in this configuration, and the load will inevitably experience the drain current, at least definitely the time varying part of the total drain current, because it is that part which we are interested resulting out of this time varying voltage. Since the drain current flows from the flows through drain terminal and source terminal, so load has to be connected at the source or at the drain. So these are the only two locations where the load can be connected. Or in terms of the output, their output can be tapped, what is called, or output can be taken only from the drain or source. So for output, there are only two configurations possible. That you take output from drain, that means connect your load here between this node and ground, and source and gate, they will be suitably decided by the input condition, or you connect your load here. So output could be here or output could be here. So between this node and say for example between ground, right? And again gate and source will be decided by the one out of these two input conditions. So we see that for input there are two possibilities, for output there are two possibilities. So on the whole, you can see that there are four possibilities when you combine both inputs simultaneously for a chosen MOS. That means there are four so-called amplifier configurations. So we can now just list all those four and try to see that which of them will be meaningful. So there are four combinations of input and output possible. So one is that we apply our source at the gate and take the output from drain. Second is we continue to apply our input here at the gate, but now take the output from source. Third is we apply the input to source and take the output from drain. And fourth is you apply the input at the source and take the output also from source. Right. So out of these four configurations, you can see that this one is useless, because what you have done is you have connected your output to the source. So in this case, output will always be equal to Vs. So you are not going to get anything new from this configuration. So that is why this configuration is never used. It is useless. However, all these three possibilities are okay. They can be used, but of course they all will have their own advantage and disadvantage in terms of what voltage you can get at these three outputs, and what current or maybe what power also, right? So if you look all these configurations, then we have represented these configuration in terms of nodes, that one out of three nodes of the MOS uh, is used for input, other is used for output, and the third one apparently is not used, right? So you can see that there is always one node which is apparently not being used. So here we have a source sort of not being used. Here we have a drain which is not being used. Here we have gate which is uh, sort of not being used. So why I'm saying sort of not being used? Because when you see the in this way, then it clearly appears that it is not being used. But when you see the complete circuit, here we are not showing how the load is connected, and how the DC voltage at the gate and drain are being maintained, which is mandatory, without which this device is not going to do anything meaningful work. It will be a dead piece of material. So in short, biasing is not being shown. So when you show the biasing circuitry and when you show the load, you will find that this might be the part of one of the loops. Keep in mind that we are seeing that all these are the circuits there, so there has to be loop. In fact, there will be always two loop, one on the input side, other on the output side. So from that point of view, you will see that all these three nodes, they will also get used. They will also be employed. They will not be like unused, which is getting conveyed from here. But for the moment, let us focus on that they are not getting sort of being used. So there is a unique node which is not being used in each of the three configurations. So there uh, we can name each of these three configurations with respect to these unique nodes. So for example, here source is not being used. So this can be named based on source, right? Here drain is not being used. So this can be named based on the drain, and this gate is not being used, so this can be named based on the gate, right? So as I pointed out here, apparently they are not being used, but when you see the complete circuit, they will be actually present in the both the loops. So from that point of view, a word common has been added to all these names, right? But uh, getting this feel that indeed they are common to both the input and output loops is not always so easy, so apparent. It might take some effort to figure out uh, whether source is common, drain is common, or gate is common, to identify which out of these three configurations the given circuit is, if the circuit is bigger. However, if you try to figure out the nature of the amplifier in the given big circuit from this point of view, that which node is not being used in terms of input and output, then you will be immediately able to figure out whether it is a common source configuration or common drain or common gate configuration. So these are the three configurations which are used in real life, and these are the three names. And for this configuration, there is a special name also given, which we will justify when we discuss this configuration. This is called source follower also. So most common popular name for this configuration is source follower. And this one is common source, this is common gate configuration, and this is common drain. So in this course, in future classes, we will take up each of these configurations and analyze them. That means try to find out which one is good at doing the amplification and what are their advantages and disadvantages. So we say that now we have three types of amplifier. So these are the three amplifiers from NMOS. But the same configuration can also be implemented using PMOS also. So we say that simply uh, three amplifiers can be created out of MOS device. So our goal in the next two classes will be to analyze each of these. But when we say analyze, what we will be actually calculating, because analysis means given the circuit and given the source, you have to find out something in that circuit. So we will now try to see that what are the parameters related with the amplifier that we are typically interested in. So given an amplifier, there are many parameters which are used to characterize it. That means user will be interested in all those parameters. And the list is actually very long, but we will mention only some of the prominent ones. And out of them, only small number we will study in this course. But in general, any system has many parameters which as a designer you will have to pay attention to, or as a user you will be interested in having all those values. So the first parameter, of course, is related with the name of this circuit itself. That means amplifier, and that is called gain. So whenever you have amplifier, this is the first parameter that will come into picture. Second parameter for this circuits that we will discuss are called impedances, and these will be of two types: input impedance designated as Zin, or the output impedance designated as Zout, or in simple cases Rin also, or Rout. Third is linearity. Fourth will be bandwidth, and then fifth it's a output voltage swing, and then power dissipation or power consumption. Seven noise. So and speed. So this list is actually quite long, as you can see. But In this course, what we will focus is all the circuit that we will discuss. For that, we will always try to find out what is gain, what is input and output impedance. And uh, these two parameters, especially the bandwidth part, will be analyzed later on in the second half of this course. And linearity, we always assume that it is linear. So now we will take up example of audio system. We will revisit that example and then try to define this gain and appreciate the importance of impedances. So first will be what is the meaning of these impedances, and then why we bother about these impedances. And then we will also through that example try to appreciate what is the importance of linearity and bandwidth also. So the first element, of course, is microphone, which will produce a voltage, time varying voltage depending upon the voice that microphone picks up. And ultimately at the other end, we would like to have more voice, that means more sound, more volume. So we have speaker. So in general, this will be very small, and so directly connecting will not lead to a meaningful output. So what is done is, this is first fed to a system which increases this, that means which amplifies this thing, and then it is connected to a speaker. And there could be multiple stages. I am using single block for this case for doing this job. So we convert this thing into our electrical components, and we represent this microphone by a voltage source Vs, uh, which will produce a voltage which will be non-sinusoidal, of course, because this is getting produced because of the audio. And then in general, it will have certain internal resistance, right? So we can represent this using port configuration. That will be easier. So this is our microphone, and then speaker, what it does, it takes electrical energy and converts into sound, that means mechanical energy. So it consumes the energy, electrical energy, and we know that a resistor consumes the electrical energy. So this will be, speaker will be simply represented by a resistor. Now this circuit can be represented using a Thevenin model in this way. Right, so we will call this as Ri, this as Ro, and this as Vo. So what we want here is that this source will produce a voltage in this loop. Now you can see there is one loop on the input side, and the input that will be sensed by this circuit, which we will call as amplifier, is Vi, and then what we want is a large Vo on the output side, so that my load senses a large voltage, and if this is large, of course there will be large power also. Yes. So now you can see that, let us try to find out how much voltage my load is going to receive. So this VL is going to be RL divided by RO plus RL into VO, right? And Now what we want, that there should be a linear relation between this output voltage and the input voltage that it senses. So what we want is this kind of relation between VO, a constant AV, multiplied by the input voltage. So this is constant and this should be independent of what is the frequency of this source and what is the amplitude. So output is going to be like this. So VL ultimately becomes RL RO plus RL into AV into VI. Now you can see that in the second loop VI is given by voltage division rule. So that is going to be RL RO plus RL into AV into RI divided by RS plus RI into VS. So when this microphone senses a voice, a sound, it basically produces this voltage. So now you see that how much of this voltage actually gets delivered to the load is determined by various parameters. For example, this RS, RI, RO, RL of course, and then a parameter called AV. And this parameter we will call as the gain. So because it is this parameter which decides how much uh, more voltage you are going to get at the output. So AV will be called as gain, more specifically voltage gain, because this is the AV is ratio of output voltage divided by the input voltage. So here we see that there are various parameters which decide the load voltage, and now here you can see that we need to talk about the gain of the uh, amplifier, and we also need to find out what is the so-called RI. This will be called as the input input resistance, and RO as the output resistance. So this example illustrates the importance of all these three parameters: uh, gain, input impedance, and output impedance. For this case, we have taken these quantities to be real, but they can be in general complex also, right? So how do we uh, define the gain? So here you can see that gain is VO by VI. So first, how do we calculate gain for a given circuit? So we will find out the input voltage for the given circuit, and then find out VO. But what is VO? VO is actually the open circuit voltage that you will see. So you take the amplifier, keep the output port open. That means you make RL infinite. In this case, the voltage that you will see is going to be VO. So this is basically open circuited output voltage. So VO is this thing. So you find out these two voltages and then take the ratio. So for the calculation purpose, what we will do, we will assume that input is sinusoidal. And so if the input is sinusoidal, we just need to find out the amplitude of the output. And that will give the gain. So AV is going to be output circuit voltage divided by the input voltage amplitude. This is going to be the voltage gain. And since we have describe this whole thing in terms of voltages. So that is why we were interested in output voltage to the input. But sometimes we are interested in output current to the input current and vice versa. That means mixture of these two. So there are going to be three other types of gains also depending upon what is the quantity of interest on the output side and what is the quantity of interest on the input side in terms of voltage or current. But we will always use this voltage gain uh, for this circuits. This is the most commonly used gain. Now, how do we find out the input impedance? That means Ri or Rin. So this is input impedance. So to find out the input impedance, what we do is we remove this load so that its effect on circuit can be eliminated. So we remove this load, that means we keep the output port open, and then we apply certain voltage here at the input, and then just measure how much current it is driving into the circuit, and the ratio of those two are going to be the input. So here what we have to do is keep the output open and then apply Vx at the input and find Ix. That means you basically set up this circuit. You keep the output open. On the input side, you apply any voltage. You can take a 1 volt source also and then find out how much Ix it is applying. Then your Ri or Zin in general is going to be Vx by Ix. So this is for the input impedance. Now what about the output? So for output, we take slightly different circuit. So keep in mind that we have this amplifier and there is a source here which is exciting it and producing this output voltage, which of course will be delivered to any given load, in this case speaker. So when we try to find out the output impedance, we try to short circuit this source. And here also you can see that what we have basically done is found out the Thevenin resistance looking what is called looking into the input port. So we sometimes designate it by like this also. That is what you will get is Ri looking into. So for output we have to look into the circuit from the output side. So what we will have to do is now take the circuit and look into it to find out RO. So looking into it means you take voltage source, connect between these two, find out Ix, and then the ratio of these two. But there is an input side also, which you can see that has a source connected to it. So when we are trying to find out this Thevenin resistance, looking from the output side, we know that all the independent sources, they should be removed. So removing independent sources means short circuiting the voltage sources and open circuiting the current sources. So here we will have to short circuit it. So for uh, output impedance or resistance, so first thing that you will have to do is short circuit the input port and then apply Vx at output and find ROS Vx by Ix. So this is the slight distinction between the conditions that are implemented to find out the input and output impedance. Right. Now the fourth parameter that we talked about was linearity. So question is that why we are interested in linearity. So the third parameter is linearity. So we again come to this example. So this voltage arises because of the voice, and voice is not uh, a sinusoidal voltage. So what you will see here, sinusoidal quantity. So this voltage is not going to be a pure sinusoid. It will, I have already pointed out. So Vs is going to look something like this in what is called time domain. That means when x-axis is time. So from Fourier uh, analysis, this same voltage can be converted in terms of frequency, and here we have time, but here we have frequency, and in this case it will look maybe something like this. Let us say up to, of course, 20 kilohertz. So what this Vs looks like in terms of what is called frequency is combination of very large number of all these sinusoid frequencies. So these are the frequencies of the various sinusoids which are present here in this signal. So this Vs, or if you take any, say, triangular waveform or square waveform, can always be represented as sum of various sinusoids, say an into sine uh, omega and t. So I am taking simple case. There will be actually sinusoid. In more complicated, this summation will be actually integral, not the summation. But to appreciate the importance of linearity, this is enough. Just keep in mind that actual signal is combination or linear combination of very large number of sinusoids with various frequencies. So the feel that you will get after hearing this voice message from the speaker is actually determined by the shape or the message that you will get. So every word, every sentence has its own, you can say, shape in the form of Vs. And that shape reflects the various amplitudes of the frequency component that will be present. So if I want to amplify this signal, say now we have amplifier which is being fed by this signal, and on the output side what we will get exactly same shape but larger values. Each of these values will be, say, now 10 times more than what they were there on the input side, right? So if you see the spectrum, then what will happen is, if this is called, by the way, spectrum, the signal presented with respect to frequency on the x-axis. So if you see the spectrum on this side, what you will get on the other side is like this. This is meaning of amplification. That means every sinusoid which is present here on the input side also exists on the output side, but with larger amplitude. So on the output side, VO, what you will get is same signal, everything will be there, except now there will be a constant number AV which will multiply each of these coefficients, and they are basically the amplitude of the sinusoids present in the signal. So this is the job of the amplifier. Since it has simply multiplied each of the frequency components sinusoid by the exactly same number, so this number can be pulled outside of this summation or the integral which might be the case depending upon the nature of the signal. So the shape is not going to change. It will be enlarged, that means amplified, and this will happen only if this circuit, that means the amplifier, is performing fundamentally this job. Say this Vs, right? That means if it has an equation like y is equal to mx, then only this will be able to preserve the shape and the quality of the sound after amplification also. And this equation is called the linear equation, and that is why linearity is important. Right. So if you see the plot of output versus input, which we are taking here as Vs, because uh, we are applying Vs directly here without any internal resistance of the Vs, then it should represent a line passing from the origin. There should not be any DC component also, which is permitted. A constant is permitted here in this equation in mathematics. Even then this remains a line, but we do not call that equation as linear, because in that case there will be DC component available here. So we want this kind of behavior from the circuit. And now the fourth parameter is bandwidth. So ideally this is what we want, multiplication of each of the sinusoid component by the same constant irrespective of what is the frequency. But unfortunately, no amplifier in real life will be doing exactly this kind of job. What it will do, it will multiply most of the frequency component by constant number. But once the frequency becomes smaller than a certain range, say for example FL, and if the frequency is more than say FH, then in that case the this AV is going to be usually smaller. So behavior is going to be something like this. This is AV. So only between FL and FH, the constant value is going to be AV, and otherwise it will start decreasing. So the range of frequency over which this number amplification remains constant more or less is called the bandwidth of the amplifier. And so there are amplifier which will do this job over this kind of scenario. There are amplifier then where scenario will be something like this. That means it will do the constant multiplication starting from zero frequency, that means DC to a certain upper frequency, but it will uh, not amplify. In fact, it will suppress, it will reduce the amplitude of the signal beyond this frequency. Uh, so these are the four key parameters for the amplifier, and as I pointed out, when we take up the circuit, we will analyze gain and input impedances for the given amplifier. So from the next class, we will start the analysis of various specific configuration out of those three configuration that was pointed out.